Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Bakaha, Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like those heathen. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone, coming at you another lesson in truth. And this is actually going to be part 2 of the video that I did on critical race historical facts. In the Psalms 64 and 8 spirit, he keeps telling on themselves the Sephardic Jews were Moors and Marranos. This is part 2. And if you haven't seen that video, I would suggest that you watch that video before watching this one. I mean, you don't have to do it that way, but it will probably be a little bit better if you watch that. The understanding would come easier if you watch that video first. All right, because I'm outdoors, so I don't have all the references and the information in front of me, so I'm just going to speak about it. Okay? But you know, I spoke about the book that I was reading from. The book was called, it was a PDF book that's online, but you can actually buy the book. It was on Amazon. And the book is gone. I mean, I did the video, and before I did the video, I went on Amazon. Hold on. Give me a second. I went on Amazon to trying to find the images now. So give me a second, Salakia. There we go. I went on Amazon to find the book, and the owner of the book had removed it. So I'm honestly thinking that someone watched the video and hit the owner, because I'd already put the book into my inbox so that I could, so that I could buy it. I put it into my shopping cart. And all of a sudden, the book is gone. But the book is called, and it's from the American Jewish Archives, and the book is called The Sephardims in America, with the Martin A. Cohen, which was the guest. He was the guest author or guest editor. All right. So the book was made in 1992, and and I read some pretty condemning information proving that the Moors and the Marranos, the word of Sephardic Jews, and it even tells you. Matter of fact, I'll just read it again. I'll start right here with Christopher Columbus and the discovery of the New World. The same group of American Jews, the Sephardim group, will shed tears for the nearly 200,000 Spanish Jews which were expelled in 1492 from the country in which they had lived for many centuries. In research, American Jewry history has shown that the first significant Jewish immigrants to this country and to the hemisphere were Jews from the West Indies and Europe who traced their ancestry to the Jewish communities in Spain and Portugal. And we showed you the undisputable, irrefutable evidence that those people were Moors and Marranos. Those were so-called black people. All right, and here it says the Sephardim, as they identified themselves according to their prayer ritual, dominated in religious, social, and economic life. American Jewry during the colonial early federal periods. By the 1830s, however, they were overwhelmed in numbers by the substantial immigration of Jews from German-speaking Central Europe. So the Ashkenazi, the Edomites, who just called themselves Ashkenazi because they went in that land. Remember, Ashkenaz is a son of Japhet, and so there would be no such thing as Japhetic Jews. You can't be from Shem and Japhet. Okay. And that was a confusion that was done yet again to throw you off the trail of following and finding out who the Edomites are. You got to remember, it's like riding the guy who's smart enough to take a branch with leaves on it and ride his horse. All right, so that the branch covers up his tracks so that he can't be tracked. And that has been the MO of the Edomites throughout the centuries, trying to cover up and hide who they are. But, we're living in a time and age where they're being exposed. Okay? Matter of fact, let me get that. And then I'll continue on with the reading. I'm going to go to Salakia. Phone is freezing. I'm trying to use my Bible app. There we go. Second Thessalonians 2:8 is what I want. All right. And it reads, "And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming." All right. And so we're at the part where they're being destroyed first by the word of the Lord, which is being brought out by the prophets who are back here in the flesh. Many of them are actually related. And you got to remember, a lot of our so-called black Americans, so-called fraudulently called African Americans, are related to them very same Sephardim that came over here to help set up the 13 colonies. It actually makes so much sense as to why they were getting along with the natives, because you got to remember Cristobal Colon, who they fraudulently called Christopher Columbus. His true name was Cristobal Colon. He came over with 5 Hebrew interpreters. All right, that's documented history. You can look that up. All right, I'm even beginning to hear rumors that he may have been not an Edomite, but a Jake himself. That's not what I was taught, so I'm not gonna teach that. Until it's super confirmed. So, but that's just something that I came across, and but anyway, that's of no importance. Either way it goes, he was a wicked son of a, anyway. All right, but one thing is true, that these Moors Marranos, these Sephardic Jews, yes, they did sell and own slave plantations and sugarcane fields and things of that nature, and did oppress their own people. They did. All right. Many of them did, and then what their reward for it is that they were stripped of their names, their titles, and just got mixed in, and now they just broke, and under the curses here in America, right along with their own people that they subjugated. They got put under. Remember the movie 12 Years a Slave? That guy Northrop. He was of those from the line of those very same Sephardic Jews that we're talking about, that came here to the America. Those Jews and Moors, all right. The Moors, meaning they were just they had accepted the religion of Islam, but they still were Israelites according to the flesh. Okay, so let's go back to the book. And the next one, which says, the immigration of the Jews from German-speaking Central Europe. These German Jews soon developed much of the institutional framework that would serve as a foundation of future American Jewish community. So you look at all these, the AIPAC and the ADL and all these Jewish organizations that actually have substantial power here in America, where they actually control political policy here in America in the benefit of their own people first. All right, and find that kind of strange, because you don't have a China pack or a Russia pack or a Polish pack, a French pack, but you got an AIPAC. Okay, but it says the early Sephardic community soon became a part of the American Jewish myth. They were viewed as grandees of the American Jewish society, an aristocrat, acculturated group that has now all but vanished in American Jewry in the 20th century. So they're not even called Jews anymore. They're called African Americans or Negroes. All right. In the years between 1881 and 1924, over 2 million Jews from Eastern Europe reached these shores and became the dominant force in American Jewish life. And in those same years, a second much group of Jewish immigrants left the shores of Europe and Asia to come to the United States. They numbered somewhere between 30 and 50,000. And despite the numerous languages and origins, also identified themselves as Sephardim. So they basically claim the Sephardim. And you have to go back to the first video where I show the actual receipts that the Sephardim were the Jews who were forced out of Portugal and Spain at the sale of Cristobal Colon, also known as Christopher Columbus. And those were indeed Moors Marranos Jews. Those were so-called black people, all right, according to their own records. So, the Lord did that, left all this information behind. All right, and then put the spirit on Esau Edom to write books like the one that I'm reading. All right, it says, in the Middle East were so impressed by the retention of their Iberian identities. Now, remember that they're just claiming everything at this point. The Iberian Peninsula, we're talking about, the Celts. We're talking about Ireland, Scotland, Slovakia. It says, impressed with the retention of the Iberian identity, he called them Españoles sin patria, Spaniards without a country. The exiles, the Hebrew term Sephardi was now applied. The word Sephardi and its generic phrase are simultaneously nouns and adjective meaning Iberian. So remember, the word Iberian comes from Ibar, which means, and the word Ibar goes back to Hebrew. Okay? It says a later put, so hence the remember, the Scots, the Irish, and the original Brits were all Israelites, and they were not pale. Okay, we're talking about the line of James. Remember James' son, King Charles II. His nickname was Black Boy, and he was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell, and many of his people were sent to the islands as slaves. They were sent to Haiti and the West Indies and things of that nature. Okay, by Oliver Cromwell. It says, as so much they previously applied the Iberians as non-Jews and Jews alike. The popular uses has typically contracted the words of the Sephardi and Sephardim, respectively, and created the English adjective Sephardic. These words are parallel to the terms Ashkenazi, Ashkenazim, Ashkenazic, referring to German and Eastern Jews. The word Sephardic derives from the noun Sepharet, a biblical place name, which by the 8th century was commonly used by Jews to designate the Iberian Peninsula. Interesting. And the name Sephardic appears on only once in the Hebrew Bible, in the 20th verse of the book of Obadiah, which is a very bad book if you're a so-called white person, self-proclaimed, because that's the whole book of Obadiah is about the future destruction and the slavery and then destruction of the Edomite race. In the 20th verse of the book of Obadiah, there read, and this host of the children of Israel captivity shall possess the Phoenician territories. I don't know where he's getting this from. But it says, I'm not even going to read that. That's some nonsense. It says, where Hispania, though apparently still not universal, appears to have been sufficiently common. By the time also the term Ashkenaz in the Genesis 10:3, Jeremiah 51:21, 1 Chronicles originally referred to the land bordering Euphrates and Armenia, had signified the German areas. And so what history does not cover, what the Hebrew Israelites have taught, was the omissions. Remember, we live in a time and age of many hidden and omitted history, and what they don't teach you about is is how the Edomites got the whole of Europe, and how they got into the land, and got the land where Germany was, and the Lord, and that land was designated for Ashkenazi, the sons of Japhet, but they were no longer there. Edom took on those names, just like he took on the title of Greece. Remember, they became the Egyptians. When they took that over, they became the Grecians, they became the Romans. This is Esau's MO. They got to America and became Americans. They got to Africa, became South Africans. They went to Australia and became Australians. That's what they do. All right. Matter of fact, let's get a scripture to back that up. That's Psalms 49. And 11. And it reads, "The inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names." All right. So to give an example, for those who might be new, I'm going to give you an example in the book of Maccabees. And when the Edomites took over the whole ancient world, from North Africa, all of Asia, including Western Asia, which they now fraudulently call the Middle East, and Europe. That's why it's Eurasia. Asia is one continent. Okay, Europe is a part of Asia, and so is the fraudulently called Middle East. Is Western Asia. And we're going to read when that was, how they took that over. And I'm going to start in the book of Maccabees, and then we'll close this out. And in part 2, I'll do it in front of the computer with all so you can actually visually see the receipts as you did in the first video. Remember, refer back to the first video for to get a visual on all the sources that I'm speaking about, that I'm reading. But this is First Maccabees 1:1. "And it happened that after Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persian Medes, that had reigned in his stead the first over Greece." So he was the first in his stead, in his race, in his people, the Edomites, to reign over the melanated Grecians. All right. And you look up the images of the Etruscans. You can look that up for yourself. The Etruscans were a melanated, a brown flesh people. The Etruscans would be what you refer to today as a people, and they got moved out of their lands by Esau, Edom over time. But those are the people you call Hawaiians, Polynesians, Samoans, people from the Fiji Islands and things of that nature. Okay, those are your actual Etruscans. As a matter of fact, the Roman headdress goes back to the King Kamehameha of the Hawaiians. He wore that same headdress. That's their culture. Okay? So he was the first in his race, the Edomite race, to reign over the people of Europe, or what they fraudulently call Europe now, and that portion of Asia. All right, and it says, "And made many wars and won the strongholds and slew the kings of the earth." All right, because when you read in the Bible, it doesn't, what one word you won't find of many words is Europe. It's not mentioned. Okay, although they do mention Spain and Sicily, Rome and things of that nature, but you never hear the word Europe once, because it didn't exist. That's something that they started calling it and using that term many centuries later. Okay. But it says, "It made many wars and run many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch as the earth was quieted before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up." All right, and his heart meaning his mind. "And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him." So the nations that he didn't destroy, they made them pay. All right, they had to continue to give them money to pay. all right, to exist. They had to pay him, all right. And it says, and after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called upon his servants, such as were honorable men, that he brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So all the you got to think about it. He had those 4 generals, and all of North Africa and Europe and Asia, all right, as they call it today, was divided among them, except for the far east, where Ammon and Moab fled to, trying to get out that jam. All right. And it says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so that their sons after them many years, and evils multiplied in the earth. So they put crowns upon themselves, call themselves the royals, and they're still telling these lies unto this day, and basically omitted all the history that you're hearing, which is why it can sound, crazy to someone who's unlearned. All right, but best believe there are many people that know this truth in high places, which is why they hide and keep this information away. Okay, that's why you have actual images when of what you would call white Egyptians and things of that nature. Okay, because what did they do when they went in there? They started putting up images of themselves, and then when they show you history, they show you time, they show you images and relics from the time of when the Ptolemies were ruling Europe. Were ruling Egypt. All right, when white people actually had a foothold and made it a stronghold of their own. That's why you had a city in Egypt called Alexandria. Okay. So that I'm gonna wrap it up right there. That'll be the end of part 2, and we'll continue this and finish it up. There's a lot more details that we're gonna get into. So with that, hey, Shalom, and Abba Ball, Kwam Yasharallah.